Hello, friends. Kyle here. Welcome to North Star Daily. Thanks so much for joining us. We made it. We survived primary season. It's on to the general election. And moving on into the general election will be House Speaker Lisa Demuth. She vanquished MyPillow founder Mike Lindell, 43 to 32%. Many GOPers and outsiders shocked. Polling had shown Lindell up early. And so Demuth's win is we're going to talk to Brian McDaniel here in just a moment about it, but looks like Damon's win and Michelle Tafoya's win over Royce White is it a return to normalcy for the Republicans in the state of Minnesota? And then on the DFL side, Amy Klobuchar clearing 90% of the vote on her way to run for governor. And then in the DFL race for Senate, Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, 59% over 2nd District Congresswoman Angie Craig's 39%. That's the big race there. Also 668 votes, a record for primary. Boy, are those, talk about a blue wave. Are they energized or what? I'm going to talk to Brian about that too. But anyways, we are on to the general election. And so joining me now, like I said, Brian McDaniel, host of Wrong About Everything, and helping me break down what we're going to see in the coming months and who will be the big winners and losers this November. Brian, thanks so much for joining me.
Happy to be here.
All right. So the big news, I guess, for the Republicans here in the state of Minnesota is that Mike Lindell losing to House Speaker Lisa Demuth and Royce White losing to Michelle Tafoya. So I think if you're a Republican waking up this morning, you're hoping maybe the party's getting back on the right track, right? What's your take this Wednesday morning?
Well, I mean, obviously, there are different flavors for Republicans. So there were people that were legitimately supporting either Kendall Qualls, the endorsed Republican for governor, or Mike Lindell, or Royce White, or Adam Schwarzy. You are absolutely welcome to that opinion. You were wrong, but I respect that all the same. And yes, I'm being cheeky. I'm being facetious. I'm being a poor winner. I apologize for all of that. But for a Republican Party that is very damaged, it's damaged locally, it's damaged nationally for sure. What happened last night was really a best case scenario, because at the top of the ticket now are going to be two very capable female candidates, both who present themselves in a very moderate way, which can, start, kind of regaining the suburbs a little bit, which the Republicans have lost. But, the Republicans, they're having a reckoning. Are they a traditional Reagan, Pawlenty type Republican Party, or is this just all MAGA all the time? President Trump certainly gave his strong endorsement to Mike Lindell. We thought that was going to carry the day. It did not. The Speaker of the House, Lisa Demuth, who just did not compromise who she was. She ran a great race, and she won by double digits, which just goes to show how bad polling is in the modern era. It can tell you something, but it doesn't nearly tell you everything.
I mean, in defense of our pollster friends, they do a service. It's a hard thing to do. People don't have landlines anymore, and of course, I saw the KSTP Survey USA, 18%, which I don't know if they polled the question of which ballot would you take previously. I tried to find the earlier results. They didn't in 2022. 18% going in said they weren't sure which ballot they would take. So how can you know? And then you're only got 500 Republicans, identified Republicans. That's statistically not enough. So yes, a tough ask. And certainly we'll get to the Flanagan Craig, how close that one was. But so if you're the speaker, you're waking up this morning, you're going to face juggernaut in Amy Klobuchar coming up in November. What are you advising her and her team to do to try to get some traction?
Well, first of all, this was a best case scenario for Republicans. It doesn't mean the Republicans aren't really, really, really climbing a very steep hill. They are. But Speaker Demuth is waking up today knowing that she is going to be going up against, a Minnesota icon in Amy Klobuchar, who has been, running for over 20 years. She's very well known. What's interesting though is, Amy is not a darling of the progressives. Her favorability ratings are under 50%, which I was extraordinarily surprised about. And what I would tell the Demuth campaign, and I have told the Demuth campaign, and will continue to tell the Demuth campaign, is Lisa is someone I know very well. She is kind. She is compassionate. She is a great listener. Don't just make her a garden variety MAGA candidate. I understand the base matters, and the base is very, kind of Trump focused at the time. So she cannot completely abandon that. However, she has qualities that are extremely unique in the Republican Party. Being an African American female, being from Greater Minnesota, being somebody with background in health and human services, and understanding, where the social safety net is necessary. So she can present herself in a very unique way. But sometimes, the DC folks come in, they package them a certain way, and they're indistinguishable from every other candidate. I can remember telling people when Tim Pawlenty ran for president, I said, Tim Pawlenty is my friend. I don't know who ran for president, because that was just a prepackaged product. Lisa doesn't need to be that. It'll be extremely hard to beat Amy Klobuchar, extremely hard. But it's really not even just about winning. It's about, can you run a sophisticated enough campaign so that you have a chance to win U.S. Senate, you have a chance to win the House of Representatives, you have a chance to win the Senate? Because if there is a DFL trifecta, well, Republicans have lived through that, twice in my political lifetime, and they don't seem to like it. So they need to find ways to, lift all boats and try to at least get at least one leg of the three-legged political stool.
As a journalist, I don't have to win elections. I get to sit on the outside and tell people how to not win them. I would say if I got to pass on a message to the speaker as a voter, and a person who wants a strong two-party system in our country, I don't need another mailer about how communist China is taking over Minnesota. I don't buy it. I'm smarter than that. I understand low information voters who that works with, but you're going to get those people anyways. And I would love to see the speaker take a chance. I know it's not the 90s or the 80s anymore, and I'm living in a la land, but I'd just love to see the speaker take a chance to have actual substantive debates. Not just keep saying the fraud word, but say, real issues, talk about the consequences. Look at Greater Minnesota or Greater MSP's thing the other day about economic development in the state, that every household would have $9,000 more if we could keep pace with everybody else. Those are real issues, real pocketbook issues. And sideline, also talking to Michelle Tafoya here, talk about affordability. Don't talk about just the blanket fraud. That's my hope. And for this coming next 3 months.
Sounds to me, comrade, like they've already gotten to you.
I mean, we got to talk about fraud.
No.
We can only beat that one so much. We're not going to convince the people that think that Tim Walz has fixed this issue that they're wrong. I'm at it every day trying. So
no, and what's interesting too on the fraud stuff is with, and we could transition to Peggy and Angie if you'd like, but they did a really good job of kind of showing Republicans a little bit how to beat each of them. And Peggy, who I've known over 20 years, so I actually personally like her very, very much. I don't think she had a good enough answer on fraud. And I think Republicans, for lack of 5 other issues that they don't have, they're going to keep talking about fraud because at the doors, they are still hearing about it. Now, I think that the enthusiasm gap is definitely working against the Republicans. We saw that last night, where there was just a tremendous turnout from the Democrats compared to Republicans. But they have now the ticket that they would want to be able to appeal to a broader statewide voter, because Republicans haven't won a statewide race since Tim Pawlenty. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they're not going to talk about it, and they absolutely should. But a problem is, as you know, Amy Klobuchar was in Washington D.C., so she gets to go, "Hey, that wasn't my problem." So you can nail her so much, and then Peggy's running for the Senate, where she doesn't have to be accountable for what happened here locally. So great. I mean, those are issues. That isn't my point. My point is, let's talk about government aid. Let's talk about issues that really affect people, and not just, we got to win, but we're not going to. So let's lead the. Let's lay the groundwork for the next election would be my dream. So Enthusiasm gap. I do want to talk about that just for a minute, only in the context of 600 and what, let me look this one up. I had it here. I'm going off my top of my head. I'll say like 668,000 Democrats, 410,000 Republicans. That's up from 2022. I know it was about 288,000 voted for Jensen and Burke unopposed. So up because it matters for the Republicans, but still a huge number to climb as far as those who want to come out in the primary, and record primary numbers for what it counts. Still 3 million voted in the general election. So that's not really a question. Those are just some numbers.
Yeah. Well, and if your strategy is to hope that you can somehow suppress the vote, that does not work in Minnesota. We vote. We have civic pride. We know how to do this, and we consistently come out and do it. There is an enthusiasm gap. I mean, I think that as much as the Democrats are going to have a hard time shedding fraud, the Republicans are going to have a very hard time shedding Operation Metro Surge,
right.
and what they have. And that was not just a Minneapolis and St. Paul issue. I'm in Lakeville, Minnesota. ICE was everywhere here, and that is something that people remember, and that is something that Flanagan and Klobuchar they're not going to forget about that, and frankly, the people are not going to forget about that. So the Republicans have to find a way to distinguish themselves from what happened on the federal level, and that's going to have to be with local issues. And yes, it will be fraud, and yes, you are right that it needs to be more than just that.
Right. Are there any winner issues? What do you think? What are your picking your winner issues for the GOP outside of fraud? What would you be messaging?
Well, I think that it's going to be a little bit. And I think that this has worked a little bit. Senator Klobuchar, who is a very talented politician and longtime senator, and none of that can be disputed. Amy knows how to win in Minnesota, and she is a different type of Democrat. She is going if she wins. She's going to be just as hard on Democrat members and her administration as she is the Republicans. So I don't think it's going to be a free lunch for the Democrats if Amy wins. But with the Republicans, they're going to be pushing a little bit on Amy Klobuchar's poor reputation as far as like how she treated staff and what is her temperament. Is she Minnesota nice? I think authenticity is so important in today's political environment, and that is why
now when it comes to Amy, I'll tell you, Minnesotans are willing to look the other way. I'll go on the record that no senator or congressman or House rep, governor, nobody's staff has called and bitched me out more than Amy Klobuchar's staff, and that include working at NPR. She didn't like
because they're terrified. They're terrified. But I think that is working a little bit. They can point to the parts in the show Veep that were based on Amy, and I'm not trying to overplay that. Amy is certainly not some sort of weird degenerate that is going to embarrass us as a state. But Republicans are going to have to show a little bit of a contrast attitudinally between Senator Klobuchar and Speaker Demuth, and they are both respectable people. They are not necessarily going to dive into the mud. Doesn't mean that the independent expenditures aren't gonna, but we all know that is not coordinated. So the candidates don't know about that. But it is going to be interesting. Republicans are going to have to win district by district. And the House and Senate are absolutely as important to them as the governor's office. So this is something that is, the Republican message is going to play really well in certain areas, and you only have to flip a couple of seats. Now the Democrats are in the same position. There are some Republicans that are definitely vulnerable that are currently in office, and I think the Democrats are thinking not only are they going to maintain their Senate majority, but they're going to increase it and then also get the House back. But having Tafoya and having Demuth at the top of the ticket will make that job at least more difficult for the Democrats.
So we should talk about Angie Craig and Peggy Flanagan. Like you said, polling really wrong on that one. What's your takeaway as far as what that means in the a 20% win on a race that we thought was going to be close?
Yeah, no, I mean you can't deny it's an impressive win by Peggy Flanagan. I did predict in my office pool that that Flanagan was going to win, though I thought it was going to be by a very narrow margin. And also, as every day went by, I became less and less convinced of that. But what I think it shows is um, you cannot discount retail politicking. And I think that one of the things that Peggy Flanagan did better than Angie Craig was actually speaking to the voters almost one to one. Where I think that if you notice both in the primary, I'm sorry, for the endorsement process and the primary, Peggy Flanagan was just more places. She was just talking to more people. And yes, Angie Craig had more money, and Angie Craig, I think, won the ad wars, but lawn signs and TV ads don't vote. And where you're seeing in certain states like Michigan and like Minnesota, where the more progressive candidates, you could call them Democratic Socialists if you want, are doing very well. Now in Wisconsin, Francesca Hong, who is a horrible candidate, almost so bad the Republicans probably wanted her to progress in Wisconsin. She did not progress because what she was saying was just a little too kooky. But what I think it shows is that Minnesota is making a definite choice to go left, to go more progressive, to go more, kind of DSA. And, that's going to play extraordinarily well in certain parts of the state. And it's going to play very poorly in others. And the question will be, how can she run well in other parts of the state where her progressive message isn't going to resonate as much? And Angie Craig, I live in Dakota County. I live in second congressional district. So I was following the Dakota County results very closely. And as I was watching it, I was just watching that Angie Craig was not winning down here the way she needed to win in order to beat Flanagan. So, kind of kudos to Flanagan, kudos to their kind of campaign plan. But now comes the hard work where you have to talk to more than just progressive Democrats.
Yeah, I just find the Hong thing, I think, bad candidate. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that Peggy Flanagan would have won, right, in Wisconsin, right? I mean, bad candidate. It's an interesting one. I continue to talk to my progressive friends, and I'm just, I get it. They want fighters, and they want to, people that say F ICE and all of that, and are vote on vibes. I will say I'm not a vote on vibes guy, and so it's just. But I keep telling them, I'm like, you can vote for those people, but Donald Trump only lost by 130,000 votes 2 years ago. So you still have to understand that, a large portion of Minnesota wants to feel represented. And if you don't want to keep fighting with them, maybe you have to pick a person that will pass legislation and get things done for everybody and not just say the things that you like. But that argument doesn't seem to resonate on either side. I was there when the Tea Party formed it when I was at 1500 too. And so remember the treacherous six that passed the gas tax. Oh, we were so mad at them. They had to go. And now our roads are crumbling.
Yeah, roads are crumbling. Yeah. That's the thing people don't understand about transportation funding is that you pay for it with gas tax, you pay for it with tab fees, and those monies are constitutionally dedicated towards roads and bridges, not light rail, not anything else. So Republicans should love gas tax. They should love tab fees. They never will, but
right.
if they ever understood them better, they would.
Right, usage fees, right? Aren't we supposed to be for you? If you use it, you pay for it. I think that's a conservative principle.
If you like roads and bridges, if you don't like choo-choo trains, then you want transportation funded through the gas tax and through cab fees because they cannot be used for rail.
I laughed when Kendall Qualls said that we didn't have roads crumbling and bridges falling down until recently, and I was like, okay,
yeah, no.
That one
there was a lot to be desired with the knowledge on some of the candidates. And let's remember, too, that when Donald Trump endorsed Mike Lindell, he said he didn't really know anything about Lisa Demuth or about Kendall Qualls. So, the president doesn't know who the endorsed candidate is in Minnesota and doesn't know who the Speaker of the House is who's been fighting for his policies. So that never impressed me with how much he really cared about Minnesota and who was governor of this state.
All right. So I guess what is our final how do we wrap this one up? I guess I will be honest with you, Brian. I just want, as a journalist, I want vote the story, make it competitive, make it interesting, right? So the idea that this won't be is kind of disheartening to me. I don't get just wound up in the fight any longer after all of these years. So I don't know. Talk me through the next 3 months. I guess I'm gonna, what holds me dear?
Well, I think, and this is going to be annoying. I'm not saying this is a good thing, but with Demuth and with Tafoya winning, that means more money will be coming into the state of Minnesota, and more money means more ads. More ads mean
I like ads. I'll play
you
ads
like
on
ads?
this show. Call me now.
All right, giddy up, giddy up. I'll make some
come
calls
on.
for it.
I'm in the creator economy. I don't know. In media before that, we need ads, though they buy them at a cheap.
But in any event, what it means is that this is just going to be a real battleground, because even though I think Amy Klobuchar will be considered certainly the front runner, and people will assume that she will win, Lisa Demuth is going to be able to give her a real good fight. And then Tafoya Flanagan, I bet you when we start getting those first polls, it is going to be extraordinarily close. So I think that we need to sit down, buckle in. But because we have respectable candidates, both on the Democrat side and the Republican side, we're going to have a much more respectable campaign than I think we would have, certainly if Royce White or if Mike Lindell, who were going to progress. Now, Mike Lindell is already saying that there were voter irregularities. So, oh my gosh. So now we have to sit back and wait, because I'm sure this time he's right. So
don't cover it. I mean, and thankfully we won't. It is one of those funny media things where he gets clicks, so we cover it, and he owned a lot of media from buying ads for a long time. But we could just choose to stop showing up, just like we don't go to Bob again Carney's events either. So make a choice, media. Stop giving that oxygen. You have my permission. So, all right, Brian. Well, I appreciate you making time for me this morning. I know you're really busy, and so I look forward to chatting with you throughout this upcoming election season. And of course, catch Wrong About Everything everywhere you get your podcast. Comes out on Thursdays, a great cast. And if you like my middling behavior, then you'll love that show, because you get feisties on both sides. So thank you again, and looking forward to talking to you more.
I'll be back anytime. Thank you.